number 4, get those photos organized. So welcome to Get Organized Challenge number 4. I see there's people popping up from all over the place. We love it when you post on the chat group where you're from, so we kind of get a sense of who's where all these different times of the day. So challenge number 4, photos. One of my favorite challenges, just because there's the fun component of actually going through your photos and looking at them. So try to think about it as fun, and I'm going to give you some tips to help you make it fun, hopefully. If you are new to the Get Organized Challenge, if you've never joined us live before, there's a little chat box on your screen where you can ask questions. If you do have a question, then type in the word question in all caps, and that's kind of a flashing red light for Karen that you need an answer. Oftentimes somebody else that's with us will be able to pop in an answer too, because they've been through the challenge before. If this is your first time in the challenge overall, don't worry about coming back and joining us for the next one, which won't start, I don't think, until January. It'll be the New Year's challenge. But we all have been collecting craft supplies for years and years and years, so it might take you more than just one time through the challenge to stay focused and on task, and so we hope that you'll come back and join us. Also, if you're new, we do a little giveaway every week for a progress post. So at the end of the week, if you've accomplished your goal, or even if you've worked on your goal, I guess you don't even have to finish the whole challenge. You do have to finish the challenge in order to get your prize, though. But if you post a progress post on our Facebook page, or email your progress post to Karen, and she is customer service at thescraprack.com, then she will enter you in a drawing to win a $25 gift certificate on our website. So this week's winner is Janet Catalinich Nelson. I hope I didn't massacre your name too much. And her progress post is a little bit long, and it has some great pictures. One of the cool things that she did was she didn't have a lot of space to do sorting templates, so she used brown bags, and I thought that was really clever. So there's pictures up on our Facebook page of how she did that. But she says, this is my 3rd time through the GOC, and slowly but surely I'm getting my stuff organized. I have lots to do yet because I have so much stuff. Most of my solid paper is sorted vertically, and I thought I had all of my embellishments sorted, but lo and behold, she found another art bin tote full of embellishments, so she got those sorted this week as well. She still has a little bit of a few chipboard alphabets to get through, but sounds like she's in pretty good shape and working really hard. So congratulations, Janet Catalinich Nelson. You are this week's winner of the Progress Post giveaway. So, and thank you so much for sharing all those pictures. I will add some of the pictures into the PDFs that I post on our challenge page on the website. So if you're not part of Facebook, you'll still be able to see Janet's pictures. Let me add that to my list here before I forget. And then let's get started. Woo! So our goal in this challenge is to have a strong system that we can use consistently for sorting, storing, and organizing photos. And that's both the digital and the physical printed photos. We're going to talk a little bit about how to tag photos and why it's important to tag photos, and how to make it tag them very quickly. I did see one of the posts come up about that someone has been given their family photos, which is really common if you're a scrapbooker, that other people in your family will automatically dubs you the family historian, and you get all those pictures, and a lot of times they don't come with any information. So we'll talk a little bit about that as we go through today too, some tips for helping you do that. Well, what are you going to need this week? You're going to need some software for sorting and storing your digital photos. You're going to need some sort of photo storage device, photo storage box, a perpetual calendar, which can be either a physical calendar or something that you do on the internet, and then of course just your average stuff for sorting and labeling your photos. So your very first step is going to be to gather all of those photos together, right? We do this at the beginning of every challenge, it seems like. Just bring everything together, get it corralled in one area, and this will help you work through the challenge this week, and if you have more photos than you can get through in a week, it'll help you to stay focused and keep moving through those a little bit at a time. So gather all those photos together. Gather all your digital photos together as well, right? So our digital photos end up all over our computers because we download them when we're in a hurry, not paying attention, and somehow you get your kids' Halloween photos downloaded into the dog's vet record file because that's what was open on your desk. Well, there's a great little program out there called Picasa. I'm sure there are other programs that do the same thing. But with Picasa, if you download it onto your computer, it's free. I think it's just Picasa, Picasa.com. It might be Picasa.net also, or maybe even both of them. It'll go out into your computer and it'll find all of those photos and it'll put them all in chronological order into that software. So things that you don't even know where they are, they're going to be pulled into Picasa, and you'll be able to sort and organize them just because then you know where they are in your computer. So that's a real easy way to get those things all gathered together. This is a regular question that I get actually about photo software, and we'll talk about it as we go further in, but I just use regular file folders. I don't use anything fancy. There's some good software out there. I know Creative Memories has a really sort of in-depth photo organizing software, and we're all sort of at these different levels for our OCD-ness, right? Like there's the very basic, I just have all my photos in a photo file, all the way up to everything's categorized by date, name, color, or whatever, right? And so most of us are somewhere in between, and I just find that regular file folders on my computer work great for that. Picasa will bring it together and give you guidance as to where things are, and then it's easy to move them around. Okay, so step 2 is those physical photos, right? It's really important that you avoid getting overwhelmed in the physical photo sort. So bring all those pictures together, put them somewhere that's a little bit out of sight, right? Maybe they're all in boxes in a closet or whatever, so you can just pull out one box at a time. What happens in your brain when you look at some big, massive project, like thousands of photos in dozens of boxes, is that your brain starts to shut down right away. So you don't want to do that to yourself. So just like we did the other things working in small batches, it's going to be important to do that with photos as well. If you can label each of the boxes that you've got, and those labels can be a variety of different things, right? So your box might be labeled this, need to sort. These are all labels that I used as I went through this process, right? So this just means this whole box is full of photos. I have no idea what they are. That could be one label, and for most of us, it will be kind of the common label initially. And then the next thing is going to be to get those photos organized by year or years. So your next label might look like this, 2005 to 2007, need to sort. And this just means everything from these years is in there, but it's not in any real order. Your next thing is going to be that you get them actually sorted chronologically or by event within that box, or probably both. And so that's going to be your years and sorted. And then your final label on your box is going to be this, R2S, and the year, and that means ready to scrap. And so we'll talk about what that means as we go through the process. But you're going to start those first boxes. Don't be afraid if the only label that you can get on those first boxes is this one, need to sort, right? And then you know exactly where you are. Some people think the idea of leaving themselves notes like this, need to sort, on the front of a box is kind of ridiculous, right? Like, if I know I need to sort it, why do I need to label it? And if you're over 40, you're going to understand this better than if you're under 40, because information leaves your head. If it's not totally relevant, it exits the building, and then you'll end up opening those boxes over and over again and looking in there and trying to figure out what's in there. So when you first stack them up, give them a label that's appropriate to what's in there, right? Maybe it's this, maybe you know what they are annually, whatever it is. Excuse me, but take a few minutes, even if it's just a sticky note or a note taped on the front of that box. Get the boxes labeled and in that stack. So you're going to put those right on the front of your boxes. So I took a bunch of stuff out of here that was for next week's class, but I just kind of wanted to show you how I just throw that label in the front of my boxes. So this is my photo box, and this one is 2006 through 2013 R2S. So these are all ready to scrap in this box. You can use any kind of box you want for storing your photos, right? Basic photo storage box. The only reason I like to go with a bigger box is because I like to incorporate memorabilia or flyers or different kinds of things, notes right in with my pictures. So a bigger box allows me to put things in that are bigger than this box is probably only 5 by 7, so it would limit what I could put in there. Before we start sorting, one great suggestion from a challenge participant a couple of years ago was to create a family timeline. And a family timeline is not only fun, but it's going to be really helpful as you're going through the process of sorting and organizing your supplies or your photos. So if you have little kids, they usually do this in like kindergarten or first grade, where they make a thing from birth to the first grade and sort of the major things that have happened in their little lives in that time frame. Well, while you're sorting photos, it's going to be really helpful. I put mine up on the wall when I was doing it, and I used a wire from IKEA. I think it's supposed to be for curtains, with these little clips that hang on it. And then I was able to put the years in on colored paper and then add information in. The nice thing about something like that is you can work things in and out of it, right? But if all you do is draw a timeline and then on your wall, or on obviously you probably shouldn't be drawing on your wall. You can, it's your room, right? And I've seen some gals make a timeline around their room of their family history and just add photos to it as they go, and it becomes a piece of artwork in their room. But if you can make it very visual and easy is key to remember in what order things happened, you're going to find that it's a huge benefit when you're working through those pictures. So even if you just do it on a piece of poster board on the wall or on a strip of paper on the wall, being able to just look at that quickly and say, oh yeah, we went to Moab for spring break in 2009, it's quick and it's easy, as opposed to looking at that picture from Moab that didn't get a date printed on the back of it and going, was this 07, 08, or 09, or was this 2010? So giving yourself some quick reference with the family timeline is going to be really helpful. The next thing you're going to do once you've done that family timeline is you're going to create some sorting guides. So I have mine right here I'm going to share with you. And sorting guides, we use these with sorting our embellishments too, right? Make it easy on your brain and give yourself some sorting guides. Now, some people will skip doing this step, but it's going to be so much easier, and you can reuse these as you go through if you don't have to rely on your brain all the time. And then the more information you get, you can add to your sorting guides and your timeline so that everything's in sync, right? So you're gonna, your timelines, your sorting guides are gonna have the year at the top and then major information about what happened that year. If you look at the bottom, I don't know if Sue can kind of zoom in at the bottom, you see that I have my children's names, well, London, LT, and the number 16, because in 2012, London celebrated his 16th birthday. Max celebrated his 14th birthday. London was in the 10th grade, and then summer, and then 11th grades, 10, 11, 8, 9. That seems kind of silly, right? Like, why do you need to write down your kids' birthdays or what grades they were in? But you, some of you are smarter than others of us. Okay, fine, I'll give you that. But there's a fair number of us who are looking at a picture going, okay, London was born in 1996, so in 2012 he turned 16, and was that the 10th and 11th grade, or was that 11th to 12th grade? So you're constantly just trying to remember, right? Especially, London's a youngster. His birthday's the end of July, which means that he was the youngest kid in his grade. Most kids with his birthday would have 11, 12 on here instead of 10, 11. So it just makes it easier on your brain if you can create those kinds of sort of cheater notes as you go through. The nice thing about doing this too is you can add information as you go through and sort pictures. So in 2012, in June, London went to Japan with a school trip. In August, we did a family trip to Moab. In school, the 10th and 11th grade year. Both of London did pole vaulting and Max played football. So all that information is right there. So it makes it easy for me to go back and reference, right? So you can add anything you want to this. Some of you will have really full pages, especially if you have kids and there's a lot going on. Some of you will just have the year and maybe 1 or 2 major events for that date. But you know, it's so hard to remember events if you haven't, as you're sorting chronologically. So just write them down. It's going to be so much easier. All right. So then the next step is pretty basic, right? For physical photos, you're going to spread out those sorting guides, whatever, preferably chronologically, which mine are for some reason not. Well, maybe I'm example girl here. And then you're going to take your pile of photos and you're going to sort them by year. So don't worry initially about getting things, kind of what we call the secondary sort. Just get them in by year. Now, a lot of times you're going to have a whole stack of photos. This is our trip to Moab, right? So just place those photos the opposite direction, because if they are grouped together, you want to keep those groups together. And then you can just switch back and forth, right, to kind of make that X pattern as you're stacking photos up if they're already grouped by event. But don't worry about it if they're not. What your goal is initially is to just get them sorted by year, and then you'll be able to take that next step and sort them by event. So just spreading out your sorting templates or your sorting guides and sorting those photos. We're going to talk about how many to do a little bit later. Now, this is where the fun part comes in, right? Most of what we've done is sorting your paper, sorting your embellishments is unique to you. How you think about, is this a beach embellishment or is it a summer vacation embellishment? Is this, you know, however your brain thinks, you need to be able to find your supplies that way. Well, with scrapbook pictures, it isn't like that. They're exactly what they are, pictures from 2005 or 2009, which means you can get help with this phase, right? I've recommended that you kind of do the other stuff on your own so that you know where it is and you're not guessing about where someone else put it. But with photo sorting, you can enlist the help of your family members, and it's really fun. I just want to also suggest that if you're doing this with your family, that you get a notebook and have it with you, because what you remember about a particular event, so let's say Wednesday night, instead of family game night or family home evening or whatever, you are going to do family night of photo sorting, and you put the boxes of photos in the middle with the sorting templates, and everybody takes a pile and starts sorting. Your family members are going to share stories with you as they see those pictures. It's going to be really fun, actually, to do it with other people. And you're going to want to have your notebook handy because what other people remember about an event is very often not at all what we remember, right? And so one of the challenges with scrapbooking is getting those stories in there and that journaling. And oftentimes it's only our perspective that we get, because most of the time nobody else wants to journal for our pictures. So while you're sorting your pictures, get a notebook if you're having your family help you, and then you can kind of jot down what their thoughts were as well for different events and things that were important to them, because the next step is going to be deciding what you're actually going to scrap. So if you have some input from family members, it might make things, you might change your mind or add things or take things out that you thought were important to other people and they weren't. I don't know if you go through that with your kids. I think oftentimes you think something's really important to them and you save something and then you show it to them and they're like, I don't even remember that or whatever. So so photo sorting with your family is going to be super fun. Okay, once you get your pictures sorted by year, then you can take your sorting guides and fold them in half around those pictures, right? And put them into the box that you might have labeled like this, 2001 to 2002 sorted. That just means that these are sorted by year, right? So you're going to clean up that mess of stacks of pictures, put them in the boxes chronologically until you're just down to working with 1 year at a time. And then within that 1 year, there are going to be things that you want to scrap about and things that you don't. One of the wonderful things about digital photography is that we can capture every moment of every day of our lives, and it's essentially free if you have enough terabytes on your computer, right? But the downside to it is we take pictures of things that we're never going to scrap. That thought alone gives many people a stomach ache. When I say you don't have to scrap every picture, you probably shouldn't scrap every picture or every event that you take pictures of. If I could just have a show of hands, how many of you are all caught up with scrapbooking, right? Most of us are not. So don't overwhelm yourself with thinking you have to scrapbook everything. Pick the really important things for each year that you want to scrapbook. Work with those pictures. Once you get all the major stuff caught up, then you could go back and sort of fill in with the little details, right? So let's talk about 2012 with our, well, this is a different year. I have my little cheat note here. This was a 2009 spring break. So we'll pretend we're working on that. So you're going to take your pictures, your pile of pictures from that year, and you're going to sort them by major events, right? And then they're going to go into that next sort is going to be, oh, sorry, I think I held up the wrong picture. So you're going to put them by year, and that's need to sort. And then once they're sorted by major event, then you're going to add that label of the years and that they're sorted. So now they're sorted by major events, okay? Then the next thing you're going to do is take those major events and decide which things you're going to scrapbook. Now, there's a really important step in this process, and that is deciding before you start sorting, before you start loading up your R2S, your ready to scrap box, you need to decide how many pages you're going to do. Well, let me backtrack for a minute. Your next step is to decide how many pictures you comfortably put on a page. Now, some people say 6. That's my comfort level, 6. That's the most I'm ever going to put on a page. Some people say 2. We've seen some beautiful artwork that only has 1. Some people have a hard time paring down, so they say 12 is my number. Whatever your number is per 12 by 12 layout, write that down and pin it up on your bulletin board and say to yourself, I'm going to allow myself to choose 12 pictures or 6 pictures or whatever it is. Do you like my hand numbers? They're all messed up, right? 6 pictures, and this is 12, but it's not 12, it's only 7. But choose that number before you start looking at your pictures. The brain does not like ambiguity. The brain likes to know exactly what the task is and then go after it. And when your brain knows the task, it will execute it flawlessly and with very little resistance. It just doesn't like this vacillation of, oh, maybe 6, maybe 12. How many should I choose? This is such a hard decision. It's not hard. Choose a number and go with it, right? So if you're uncomfortable with 6 or 8, then choose 12, and that's totally fine. You're going to have extras when you're done scrapbooking, but that's okay. Your brain will like it, and you'll be able to make those choices. So that's your very first thing. How many pictures am I going to put on a page? And I know that there are some of you out there that even 12 is not enough. And if 24 has to be your number, so be it. But remember, you're not going to use that many. And the more you keep and the more you have to dig through, the more frustrating, the more overwhelming, the less things you get done and the less fun you're having. So I would say if you can max out at 12, that's going to be the most I would recommend. And I only choose 6. 6 is my number, right? I'm a minimalist though, so all right, if you don't want to get on board with 6, I get that too. Okay, so you've chosen how many pictures you're going to do per layout. So then the next thing you're going to do for the sort, so let's go through this pile of pictures that were from our spring break trip in 2009. Before I even start looking at those pictures, I've kind of mapped out that I'm going to do 10 pages of this event, right? I'm going to do 8 defined layouts, and then I'm going to do 2 of what I call snapshots. Now, the snapshots pages are super helpful to people who kind of struggle with the 8-page idea, and because that means that even though you don't do a whole page about every single thing that we did on the Moab trip, you have this sort of catch-all at the end of that segment of pages where you can just put random fun snapshots with a little note, right? So you can get a lot of pictures on that page or those 2 pages and kind of wrap up the event, which is how I do it. But it's good for your brain because it knows there's kind of a dumping ground there at the end. So if I'm going to do 8 pages of Moab and 2 snapshot pages, then that means I can choose 60 pictures from that trip, right? 6 per page, 10 pages. So now all of a sudden it's really easy for me to sort those pictures even by the layout. So the first page on my little note here is going to be road trip down. The second page is campground in Moab. The third page is day in Grand Junction. So now I know I can choose 6 pictures from each of these particular things and put them in order, and I've got all of those pictures grouped together with my little notes about how they're going. I'm going to take those pictures, those 60 pictures, and I'm going to put them in this folded in half piece of paper that says Spring Break 2009 Moab. So that's the other thing that I do is I try to code things consistently. So if you look through my picture boxes, every spring break is going to be SB. That just means spring break. And then I've got the year and then where we went, the dates, and then some basic information, right? So now I can take those pictures that are already sorted, those 60 pictures, and I can drop them into this Moab folder. And this says the wrong years on it, but bear with me. Then I'm going to have this box ready to scrap 2009, and I'm going to put this right in the ready to scrap box. So the next time I have time to scrapbook, I can go right to one of my ready to scrap boxes, open the lid. I don't have just pictures lined up right there where I get distracted. You know that happens, right? You start looking through pictures and all of a sudden you're like, oh, were my kids so cute? Oh, I remember this. That was so cute. Pretty soon all your scrapbooking time is used up looking at pictures. I'm going to pull the lid off my ready to scrap box and I'm going to say, what do I want to work on? I'll do Spring Break in Moab. I'm going to grab that folder, put the lid back on the box, and go to my workspace or go to my crop or my class or my event with those pictures all ready to go, right? It's super simple. It's super easy, and you stay focused on whatever you want to do. Now we're going to talk later about getting ready to go to a crop or event. That's the last class. One of the things that happens when we go to a crop or event is we spend so much time just deciding what we're going to do and then having to go through and find all the bits and pieces that work with it. Well, this is the first step in that, because this is going to make it easy for you to go to an event with exactly what you want to work with. Maybe 2 or 3 different projects, but you're going to be able to pull them together really quickly and really easily. So with photo sorting, you've got, let me put my steps back in line here. Photos I need to sort, that's your first box. The second box is, okay, these are sorted by year. Here we go, 2005 to 2007. I'm going to take a little bit more time and break those down further in step number 3. Sort the years by months or event, or I should say months and event, because you do want to keep things in chronological order. That's another question I get regularly is, should I sort things in chronological order, or should I sort them by people, or should I sort them by events, i.e. put all of London's pictures in one box and put all of Max's pictures in a separate box and put all the Christmas pictures in a third box? No. Keep your pictures in chronological order, because it'll be so much easier to find them when you need them if they're in chronological order. You can sort things, and I'm going to send out a link to doing multiple albums. When I was doing the Moab album, if I'm doing 3 albums, my family album, 1 for London and 1 for Max, I'm just going to have 3 sets of pictures in this thing so I can do all 3 albums at the same time. So that's a whole nother class essentially, but I did a blog post about it with some illustrations and some step-by-step, and so I'll make sure you get a link to that in the email that comes out after class today, right? So sort years by months and events. And then finally, choose from the months and events which things you're going to scrap. So you're going to keep this box sorted by month and year, right? These are just all the pictures. A lot of these are never going to make it into a scrapbook. So that's your chronological box. And then you're going to pull out your ready to scrap photos, and those are going to be the ones that are broken down by events that you're going to scrap. Now, try to keep this box, this ready to scrap box, major events and really the things that are the most important to you, right? If you had to say, give yourself some sort of parameters, right, that you can only scrapbook, boy, if you look at the number of pictures that you've got, if you can only scrapbook 20% of the events that you've got to choose the top 20% of events to put in those scrapbooks. Remember, you can always go back. When you get caught up with the top 20, you can always go back and start adding in the rest of those events when you get caught up with the top 20. That's going to be tricky. If anybody out there is caught up, we'd love to hear from you because you are a rare breed, right? So this is your final box. This is the box that you're going to be working with. The R2S box is what's going to make it easy for you to actually scrapbook. Okay, so that's going to be your physical sorting process, the step-by-step of the physical of how to do it, right? And like I said, I'm going to post my presentation and it'll give you even more pictures of the different methods. If you have digital photos, which most of us have digital photos also, it's the same basic idea, you're just doing it on your computer screen, right? So you're going to have one file that's labeled photos, and then within that, you're going to have your years. And within the years, you're going to have photos that need to be sorted and photos that are ready to scrap. It's the same process, the same labeling. It's just doing it digitally on your computer. Now, when you do store your pictures on your computer, tagging becomes really important. So when you load your pictures on your computer, you can load them. Let's say you went to Disneyland. You're going to load them into a file folder, Disneyland 2014. You're going to put that Disneyland 2014 file folder into the sorted by year. This is one of the nice things about digital because they're usually dated. So it's the year part, that step is already completed for you, especially if you're using a photo software that sorts by year like Picasa. Then you're going to move them into the sorted by year folder, right? When you have time, you're going to go in and do your list. What did we do at Disneyland? How many pages am I going to do? What are they going to be of? And now you can group those photos together digitally that same way. So we have the trip to Disneyland, day 1, day 2, lunch with the princess, whatever it is, and you can say 1 page, I need 6 photos, so you can sort those and then put them into another folder that is in fact your R2S Disneyland folder. So when you're ready to print those pictures and do those pages, you're going to be able to take that folder, send it off to Walmart or Costco or wherever you have your pictures printed. Now, wherever you do have your pictures printed, Walgreens, think about when you send them off about having something put on the back of the photos, which a lot of photo places used to do when I was a kid. That was a long time ago. But for some reason, it's kind of dropped off. Now, I think Walgreens is one of the few that actually gives you a little box where you can print something in there that you can put on the back of your photos. But keep that in mind. It just makes it easier later down the road if that information is on the back of the photo. So if that's an option where you get your photos developed, add that into the back side of your photos and they'll make it a lot easier. Now, here's my next big tip for digital photos. Once you have printed your digital photos, if you add a great big capital P or the word printed to the end of the file name, then you'll know that those have been printed. Now, some of us have to put the word printed and then we have to put a note about where we put those pictures away, right? So if you're not sending them to the printer, picking them up, bringing them home and scrapbooking them, put a note on that file folder about where those pictures are. They may just be in your R2S printed photo file box, but you don't want to spend a bunch of time looking for them. So spend the 2 seconds up front labeling that they have been printed and where they are right on the digital file folder. Now, tagging photos, you don't have to tag every photo individually. Do a group tag on your photos, right? Put your kid's initials or name. I use initials for my older son, London, because London's long, and then Max is just MAX, so that's easy. But that's where, we're going to talk about your perpetual calendar. And this is an old one from Karen Foster. They don't make it anymore, I don't think. But I do believe that Close to My Heart offers a perpetual calendar all the time. If you've never seen a perpetual calendar, They just look like this. It's just one page with the numbers 1 through 31 down it. And the idea is, they call it a birthday calendar also. The idea is that you write people's names on the line whenever their birthday is. And since it's not particular to a year, you use it forever, perpetually, to remember people's birthdays, right? It's just super simple. You can do the same thing on an Excel spreadsheet. It's handy for me to just have one hanging on the bulletin board next to my desk, right? You see it all the time. Facebook reminds you now. There's birthday reminder app software and all that stuff for actual birthday stuff. But this I use as a cheat note for how I label pictures. So you can see this one says New Year's Day, and I use NYD for New Year's Day, right? I use birthday, or BDAY, for birthday on everybody. Right? So the people that I scrapbook about often, like my sister, I also wrote her little code. Her name is Teresa Irene. When she was little, we called her Tisa. And then when she went through like middle school years, she wanted to be called Terry. And then she went to Teresa. And then her middle name, Irene, is my grandmother's name. And so she really liked that. And so there was a period of her life where she was using her middle name, Irene, because she really liked it. And now she's back to Teresa. And of course, I've always called her Tisa. And my kids call her Tisa as well. So if I was trying to code things by Tisa, Teresa, Terry, Irene, it would be hard to find those pictures. So anything that has her in it is coded with Tisa, right? Max is Max and LT is LT. But this is my cheat notes, the little orange highlights for how to label. And if you think you're going to remember that you labeled Tisa, Tisa, and that I labeled London LT, right? His initials are LTS. So sometimes I'd be like, is he LT or LTS? How do I code that? Again, that over 40 thing. So giving yourself some cheat notes for different things, even for holidays, is going to be really helpful. So there's LT down there in July. Halloween is always HW, right? You want to keep it short and easy. So now you can highlight an entire group of pictures with HW and the year, or you could highlight all of them with HW and the year, and then maybe there's only one with London in it, so I might go in and just tag that one LT, add LT to the tag. And the amazing thing about this, about getting consistent with your tags, is if you want to go in and find all the Halloween pictures from 2012, you type in the year and HW, and your computer is going to pull up all the pictures with those tags. If you want all the pictures from Halloween for 2012 and 2013, you add 2013. Now you get all of those. Sometimes you want to do albums of the pictures from Christmas for 10 years, right? We're looking for those family photo, that posed family photo. So if you type in Xmas, which is my code, and all the years I want, I'm going to get all of those pictures. But it becomes a really easy way. If I want to only see pictures from Tisa's birthday, I can type in Tisa and BDAY, and now I'll get all the pictures of her birthday that I have on my computer every year, or I can just give the years that I want, and it'll pull those pictures specifically. So tagging photos makes it easy to find them later when you're looking for things by group. Now, because you're going to organize photos, years, need to sort, sorted, project photos, you probably won't even need those tags, but I'm advising that you at least put them on there. And group tag things. At the very least, group tag. Highlight all the pictures from Disney and tag them Disney 2014. That's better than just those numbers, right, that now appear as your photo name. So at least do a big group tag. If you're unfamiliar with how to do that, then ask somebody on our Facebook group and someone will share with you. It's a pretty simple process. Okay, so really important to tag those digital photos. All right, so one thing I forgot to mention in the beginning for the people who are new to the Get Organized Challenge is that we're about 30 seconds ahead of you. So as we get to wrap up, which is where I am now, if you have questions and you've typed them in, Karen will try her best to answer them, but sometimes you're actually typing in questions after we're off the air. So if we don't answer your question, please feel free to either email customerservice@thescraprack.com with that question, or you can go to the Facebook page and post the question, and Karen or somebody else there will do it. And here's Karen with the questions of the day that were unanswered. And also for those of you that are new, one of the reasons I love Karen is because she puts everything in very bold font, so I don't have to put my reading glasses on. So thank you, Karen, for that. Okay, Evie, she says she's a newbie. How do you put card making kits as in several by one designer? I wouldn't put them by designer. I would put them by theme, or right. When you get a card making kit, it's generally something specific. Birthday cards, get well cards, retirement, one of those things, right? So I would put that card making kit in with that section of your 4-section system. Now, sometimes that kind of gives us a stomach ache because we like to keep things together by designer. If that's the case for you, inside that card kit, there's a flyer or a wrapper or something on the front that kind of shows what's in there, retirement, get well, spring theme, whatever it is. Make a photocopy of that and put that photocopy in wherever it belongs. So if you have spring cards, put that photocopy of the front of that. I don't know, excuse me. Let's say it's a Teresa Collins kit. Make a photocopy of that, put it in the spring section, and then and put a note. These are stored with all the other Teresa Collins kits, and you probably have them in some sort of vertical storage if you've been listening to me rant for the last 2 weeks. So then you label that box Teresa Collins and maybe give them a number. So if you have 50 Teresa Collins kits, this is now, Teresa Collins kit number, 51. And you write it on the little flyer, 51, and put it in with the spring. And then when you see it, when you're working on a spring card, you'll be like, oh, I have that Teresa Collins kit. It's number 51. You can go to your stack of Teresa Collins and pull it out. So the most important thing is bringing those things together and so that you can remember that you have it, right? So for me, if I had a Teresa Collins spring card making kit, I would take that whole kit probably and slide it into a supersized single page and put it right into the spring section of my scrap rack. I don't have 51 card making kits though, and that might fill up a scrap rack pretty quickly. So kind of the same way we talked about like whole sets of paper, like Basic Gray comes with 18 sheets of paper and 2 sheets of matching stickers. You want to link the two things together in your 4-section system, not necessarily reinvent the whole thing. Does Picasa help with duplicates? I don't know. I'm not really, it's going to pull them all in, but Picasa is going to sort by chronologically. So unless the duplicates were, it's going to definitely make them more visual. You'll be able to go in. So what happens with Picasa is Picasa pulls everything in and puts it in chronological order in Picasa, but it doesn't actually move things around in your computer, right? If you delete it out of Picasa, it's going to delete it out of the computer as well. But if you just go to the Properties tab in Picasa, it's going to tell you where in your computer that file is located. So especially the thing about the Halloween pictures and the dog's vet record file, I actually did that, which is why it's an example. And I thought that those pictures were totally gone. I had looked everywhere for them. This is before I knew anything about tagging or did any of that kind of stuff. And when I downloaded Picasa that first time, boom, there they were. And I was like, oh my goodness, I've been looking for those. Where are they? And I was able to right click, find the properties, and then go into my computer, pull them out of the dog's vet record file and put them back in chronological order where they belonged. So it's just going to guide you through. Now what it might do is bring up the two pictures in the same file, and at that point you can say, okay, this is a duplicate, and you can delete it from Picasa and it'll take it out of your computer as well. What if you have a lot of layouts ready to be sorted into a variety of different albums? I'm not totally sure of the parameters of this question, but when I was working on multiple albums for my kids, I would put the empty top loading page protector in the album, and then I would throw those pictures in there and or a note about what was supposed to be in there, and that would remind me of what was coming next. And I think that's really kind of what we're after here, right? So I'm not sure, Evie, if you can kind of give me a little bit more detail, but if that's what you're doing, if you have those pictures ready to go with other stuff. So it says, what if you have a lot of layouts ready to be sorted into, I'm not really sure wholly what the question is. So if you can give me some more details, because all that you might need to do is just do this, right? Put them in here. If it's just the photos and maybe some memorabilia, put it in here and then put it in chronological order. But when you're saying layouts, I'm not sure if that means you have everything pulled together to do that layout, or the layout's done but it hasn't been. So I'm not totally sure. Give me some more details and I'll try to do a better job answering. Jennifer says, does Picasa pull digital videos? I have movies filed with corresponding pictures. It does. It'll pull them right in chronologically as well. So remember, it doesn't actually move them out of the file folders, right? Now, big warning. If you delete it out of Picasa, it's deleting it off your computer as well, right? So keep that in mind. I didn't realize that when I first started using Picasa. But really the goal with downloading with Picasa is being able to see everything in chronological order, with lots of thumbnails of what's going on. But it will pull your videos as well. So Julie says, if I store all my paper vertically by calendar themes rainbow, is it common for my scrap rack to have different themes for my embellies than my paper? Yes and no. So when you look at like my scrap rack over here, I have my paper for small themes in there. So if I have ballet paper, 4 sheets of ballet paper, it's going to be right in there with the ballet embellishments in the scrap rack. But if I have tons of travel paper. That's one of the things that I love to buy is travel stuff. So I have all my travel stored vertically because it would just take up too much space, too many paper pockets on my scrap rack, right? So I'm going to have my travel embellishments here and my travel paper. Now you may have purchased paper for ballet and no other embellishments, in which case, unless you bought a whole bunch of ballet paper, I would recommend that it's right in your scrap rack. But if for some reason you bought 200 sheets of ballet paper and no ballet embellishments, then that would be in themes, and you wouldn't have anything in embellishments. So generally, you're going to have paper, stickers, die cuts, embellishments that all kind of work within the themes you're working on. But occasionally you're going to buy something that's unique one way or the other. So it's no problem to do it that way. Generally, though, you're just going to have a few sheets of paper, and it's always going to be better if you're using a scrap rack that you put that few sheets of paper in, because it's going to be the most visible, right? So when you look at vertical paper storage, it's a great way to store because you can condense everything down, but it's not nearly as visual as going, okay, I'm working on whatever travel, and now I flip to the travel section and I'm seeing all those different travel categories, whether it's Las Vegas or London or Santa Cruz or airplanes, it's all right there. So it's so much more visual than putting it vertically, which is why most of my paper, themed paper especially, is in the scrap rack. Now again, if you're a junkie, Christmas paper junkie, travel paper junkie, that might be a different story. But I also know, because I am a junkie, that there is travel paper in my theme section down below. I hope that helps. Is it okay to say vacation day 1, day 2, day 3, or should it be given a name of the event? Totally depends what your vacation is about, right? So and how you think about it and how you're going to scrap it. So if the title of your layout is going to be 10 days in paradise, then you might want to call it day 1, day 2, day 3, right? You're kind of pulling that whole theme together of 10 days and the 10 pages or 10 double page layouts, right? If you went to Disneyland and you did major things each day, you might want to, or you didn't do major things each day, you might want to call 1 page rides, 1 page characters, 1 page swimming at the hotel pool, or days at the hotel, or whatever, right? Because you're going to group all those rides together, or all those meeting characters together. So it just depends how those layouts are going to go. And once you start, so like my little thing for Moab, it was each thing was an event. This was a day in the campground. We went mountain biking, we went rappelling, we went whitewater rafting, we rented a razor for the day. So then each of those things was an event, but I wasn't grouping things together. So it just kind of depends on what you're planning for creating those layouts. But I'll tell you something, doing this, it's first, before you start sorting photos, we've all had that, where we sit down to sort photos, and it's just overwhelming. You just can't decide, should this be day one? Should I put these in chronological order? Should I do it by characters? What am I going to do? Well, if you kind of map out those layouts, then, well, there's another benefit I didn't even talk about, so I'll come back to it. Then when you actually start sorting pictures and you're like, okay, this is all characters, this is all rides, this is all, hanging out at the beach or the day at the pool, it makes it so much easier. And then you say, okay, I'm doing a double page spread of rides, which means I have to choose the best 12 ride pictures. Your brain loves that. It's easy to make decisions when the parameters are clear. Okay, best 12 ride pictures, 1, 2, 3, not whatever. It's going to be so much easier. You'll be amazed. So taking that time to kind of map out what you're going to do is going to make a huge difference, right? And there's no rule. You're not going to get in any trouble if you had decided to do a double page spread of rides, and you, in the end, you couldn't choose 12 pictures. You had to choose 18. Well, now you've got 3 pages of ride pictures, so you're just going to bump that down and spread out your layout, right? But once you've chosen those pictures, and on your list right here, when you go to the craft store or the scrapbook store or the event, and you're going to buy the Disney paper for that, now you've got 12 days of Disney, you know what they are. So when you're in the aisle choosing Disney things, it's going to be easy to buy the right amount of stuff. We've all bought paper thinking, oh, I need, what am I going to need? I'm probably going to need 4 sheets of this, and you buy 4 sheets of that Disney paper, and you go and do those layouts, and then you're like, oh no, I should have bought 6, or I only needed 2, so you have leftover. Are you going to return it? Probably not. But when you go back to the store to buy 2 more sheets to finish the layout, they don't have it in stock anymore. So mapping out your layouts and then taking that list with you, even when you go to purchase those things, you're going to buy what you need instead of not enough or too much, right? So it's going to help on a number of levels that way. Sorry, I get kind of excited. Woo-hoo. All right. Barbara Ann says, most of my digital are scanned photos, so the date would be the date I scanned. That doesn't help me. Oh, I'm glad you asked that, Barbara. If you're scanning photos, right, you want to tag them as you scan them with actually the date in the tag, because you're right. I'm assuming she's talking about old photos there. Now, once they're scanned, if you're going to have them reprinted, at that point you could have the date put onto the back of them. If that's what I'm saying about Walgreens. You can tell Walgreens what you want on the back. They don't put the date that they were actually got printed at Walgreens, which is what used to happen, I guess. I'm pretty sure it's Walgreens. Karen, if you're still listening, maybe you could go online real quick and check to make sure they're the ones. You get to type in a little message that they print on the back. So it could say Christmas pictures, 2007, even though they're printing them today. You get to choose what the words are on the back of those pictures, so that would be helpful. But I want to also touch base on getting these old pictures, which I started off with. When you're the family historian, you often get handed pictures and memorabilia and information that doesn't have any dates on it, might not know who the pictures are, whatever. And it's a little bit frustrating, right? Because you have no idea. Maybe you don't have family around you that can help you. So one thing, if you do have family around you, if you can bring your mom, your aunts, your cousins, whatever, together, maybe have a ice cream party or a glass of wine or some other sort of festive cocktail or event food, and ask everybody, do you know who these people are? And you could work together as a group that way. But if you don't, we have the internet. Woo! So you can post these pictures up on your own page on something like SmugMug or one of those services. Even Costco offers it, where you can send your album to Costco. You can send a link to your album to other people through Costco, and they can go into that album and tell you what they know about who's in those pictures. So just because you have them on your computer, those digital pictures, or you've scanned those pictures and now they're on the computer, you can send those pictures out, not one by one to individual people, but you can put them into an album on one of those services and then give other people access to your album, and they can add notes to the pictures for you. So try to think, how can the internet help me with getting the information that I need for these pictures? So now they're scanned, which means essentially they're preserved, and everybody can add their own notes. And the fun thing about that is, as people add notes to those albums, one person might say something, again, what they remember about that person or that picture, and somebody else might have a totally different memory about that picture or the people in that picture. And so you'll be able to collect all of those stories and share those stories with your journaling in your pictures. So I hope that helps. Okay, this week's challenge. Establish your physical and computer filing system. So whether you're using a big box like I use, a regular photo storage box, bring those things together so that you have them, and as you're ready to organize, you're prepared with the right tools that you need. I want you to sort 2 boxes, piles, drawers, however they are, of pictures, and if you can get family members to help you, doing family home evening or a family photo sort evening or whatever, you need to add 1 additional box per each family member that you get to help you. So I want you to sort 1 year of digital photos, sort 1 container of supplies, other supplies, into your 4-section system. So if you didn't make it all the way through your embellishments or your stickers or whatever, grab another small container of those, and do 1 more container of those this week. This is a big week because you also need to sort 4 more inches of paper. So if you haven't finished your paper sorting, grab another 4 inches of paper, and hopefully you've gone vertical, and it'll be really easy to file that in, because by this point you probably have the majority of your themes, your calendar year, and your rainbow set up either in a scrap rack or in your vertical storage, so it'll be easy to pop those things in. Whew. Not last. Next thing is to post your progress on Facebook or send in a progress post via email. And then finally, the last but very much not the least, is enjoy your reward. So whatever you deemed as your reward for challenge number 4, I know you're all going to get it this week, right? So once you've completed your challenge, enjoy that reward and tell us what it is. Not enough people post up that they're enjoying their reward and what it is. And one of the nice things about you posting your reward and enjoying your reward is that it's going to give people other ideas for how to reward themselves also, especially if this is only their first challenge. They're going to need rewards for the next 2 or 3 that they go through, right? So, all right, gang, I think that's it for this week. I don't have any more questions from Karen, but remember, if you miss getting your question answered, you can go to our Facebook page and post that question, or you can email us, customerservice@thescraprack.com, and we will get an answer back to you via email. So thanks so much for joining me this Tuesday morning. I look forward to, I'm not looking forward to talking with you next week because I won't be here next week. So I'm sad that I won't be talking to you next week, but Karen is going to be occupying my chair next week when we talk about memorabilia and journaling notes and getting things ready to pulling things together to actually create those pages for your scrapbooks or whatever you're working on. So you'll see Karen next week. Have fun with that. I'm going to watch Karen. I'll be out of town, but I'm going to tune in and watch her show as well. So thanks so much for joining me this week, and I will talk to you week after next. Have a great day.